It's definitely the most Kiwis of all. That's why I was born. Turned her evil assistant on her mother. She's just a month old. I'm the original fat guy who's going to a woman's house. She's got a secret problem. I'm a 30-year-old fat guy with a name like Ken. I can say that my life is a failure. The day of the parents' funeral was touched by the door after the addition. I was killed by a truck. It says if it's worthless. When she woke up again, she was transferred to the first world. Her father and mother were officially Rudy's parents. They named her Rudius. In the first century that remained intact, Dee soon learned to be on her own. But Lilia's fat ass, the Turner woman, would give her the biggest headache of her life. Lilia was disgusted. She was afraid that the child would never get out of the house. But Mom trusted Rudy. What could be so disgusting about a little baby? Then Rudy fell off the table. His mother tried to cure him with magic. Then she realized that there is magic in this century. A child over 0 years old can really become a magician. I finally found something more interesting than a woman. After she learned to stand and walk, she opened the magic book in the treasure chest in a hurry. Unfortunately, she couldn't read it in the realm of consciousness. It would take another year to learn it 10 times. I realized I needed Jintoki to activate my magic. With that in mind, she read the edict. A ball of water was actually frozen in her hand. Because she was too young, she didn't have enough power. That's why she couldn't launch it. And she fell to the ground because she didn't have enough power. Mom thought she had Peter Pants. It was Rudy's idea to raise the magic limit. Even when Mom and Dad were talking to each other, they've been studying it too. After much trial and error, Rudy finally learned how to launch water balloons. And he realized that he had more and more magic power. And he was able to use his magic without the need for a Jinjo. The water balloons were coming back. She decided to make a big mistake. Instant artificial rain. After seeing this scene, Mom was so excited, but she's got a lot of magical emotions. It's Dad who's not happy.
A boy.
Why don't you become a swordsman? It was under the maid's sword. Jen decided to let Rudy practice some magic in the morning. In the afternoon, she'll continue with her swordplay. He hired a magic teacher for her, Miss Chansey. When we met, Chansey was so disappointed. She told me to call her child. Is this a joke? This is the age of the open gallbladder. I don't think he understands the spirit of magic. Then he grabbed his staff. A small number on the spot. I also questioned the magic to restore it. Try Rudy. But Rudy was able to play magic without any camping. It was to keep a low profile. It was a symbolic spell. And just as he did so, Chrissy immediately pointed out that he hadn't finished the incantation. How did you do that? How did you do that?
Dee then said,
I usually play this without the camp singing. The next moment, Kissy was so upset that he couldn't even fight. The child's talent is really high. After the fall of Chizzy in Rudy's home to stay, after half a year of teaching, Dee has learned to release a variety of magic. He can even use earth magic. He can even use earth magic to make handicrafts. Days after learning the magic, you can still see Chansey was enjoying herself. In order to divert attention, Chrissy also had a nightly history lesson with. Kissy told him that he was a blue-haired demon. He told him he was a blue-haired demon. There's a horrible demon with green hair. They killed everyone they saw. If you don't sleep at night, they'll eat you. They ask if you're scared. So, Dee had some fun. I'm not afraid at all. Kissy's hair is beautiful. I'm gonna marry her in a couple years. Kissy thinks. It's just a child's attraction. It's just a child's attraction. So he agreed. When Lok Dilwu was old enough to take over, Dad gave him a sword. He wanted to use it to protect his family. Kasiki gave him a wand. It's a good reason for him to leave the country and graduate in magic. He's going out tomorrow to take the graduation exam. Ludi, since he came to this world, he's never been out of his house before. The memories of the bullying he suffered in the past. Lok D is afraid of it, but Lokshi didn't let it drive him crazy and encouraged him to scold the three hearts together. Quietly coexisted with the scenery. Lok D in a better mood. lock Chick-size arms. Dee finally got out of the shadow of his heart. And then he began to sing his magic. The strongest water shield he had. The wind and the number of words. It was Dee's final exam. He needs to be able to dye the same kind of magic to be able to do it. Dee then began to sing the spell carefully, to make his teacher proud of him. He chanted the incantation carefully, and he began to change his words. He was even bigger than Lakash. Lokshi was very happy. Dee will be able to graduate. The moment of parting had come. Before we go, Kissy gave one of her own to follow her voice. He gave it to Dee. I'll see the token again. I'm sure they'll both be better in the future. Hands. Where's the big brother? But this one still won't change his mind. Ran through the fat man who felt chizzy as this year's dance. There are 3 losses a day. It's too much of a challenge. After the shadow of the heart of the Fu Luabu kicked out of the door, Dia began to go to the village to say hello to everyone. Thought just met 3 bear children. Bullying a child. The drop D directly rushed over. A set of water eggs. He beat the 3 kids away. He even washed the bullied kid's hair. One of the kids was named Silify, a kid with elfin blood. His hair color was like the brutal module in the story. That's why they were bullied. And with the same energy as the bullies. They became fast friends. They played with each other until they got to the end of the game. Dee went home. Just after we met, we saw a series of angry dads. It was the kid that Dee had beaten up who had come to tell his parents. Before he could find out what happened, he had to apologize to them. Luddy went straight back to his father, and he got a slap on the wrist. Dee is also not angry, not brain.
I'm sorry.
If he ever sees anyone being bullied again, he'll become a bully too. He said he was taught by his good father. It was only after the incident that he thought, what the hell happened to Shung Liddy? I chose to apologize. After that, he even closed his mouth for a long time. I thought, as a father, I'm really incompetent. The next day, Dee went to play with Salufi, with the bloodline of the elves. Luffy's magic has improved by leaps and bounds, but he could release ice cream in the summer, and he learned the same technique as Dee. Dee's voiceless singing. The children were so happy. Luffy ran and screamed into the field, but the weather was not kind. It was raining heavily, and it was raining hard. So Dee took West Luffy home to take a bath. When Silify couldn't get undressed, Dee said, "You don't want to be like this cow." He took off her pants with his hands. Fruit only realized, I've been with you all my life. But he's a girl. The girl is so cool and sad. The battle scene is also by the bully. But this time, she didn't lose her temper. But this time, she didn't lose her temper. But this time, she didn't lose her temper. After clarifying the original flavor of the matter, Luddy went to look for the little girl to be matched to the present. And so Luffy didn't hate Luddy. After explaining things clearly, they soon got back together. Half a year passed. Mom was finally pregnant with her second child. Dee was going to be a big brother. And just when the family was riding Rong Rong, Dad made a mistake that handsome man is prone to make a mistake. The girl, Lilia, also returned the favor. The mom raised her hand to the same light as her husband. The atmosphere dropped to freezing point. She offered to leave the house. I will leave this house after assisting your wife to give birth. She'll stay in her hometown. It's a month's journey to her hometown. It's a month's journey with a newborn baby. I'm sure she'll die on the way. Dee remembered how much she'd taken care of her. Even when he found out that she had died, he didn't tell anyone. She didn't even tell anyone that she was dead. She must have mediated. It's all Dad's fault. It's all my fault. I've been doing this for 3 years now. Why did I come to date Damaz? Instead of Mom, she was with her own daughter. And Dottie is chasing after him. She said she wanted 2 siblings. I want 2 younger siblings. The power of love finally made Mom come to her senses. The choice of raw materials. She and the children stayed in the family. Have Paul back over the world single-born. Dee's wave of operation. Between the force awe of good feelings brush full. Come is not Paul's strong, not female store. It is her long time to listen to the husband and wife exchange of sound. The law cannot help to send ink users of Paul. Just had a child. Flying eggs under the female store on the drop D before the lock's behavior to the past not to save. He decided to spend his life to repay the favor of saving his life. And half a year has passed. The baby was born. Dee was old enough to go to school, but she had a talent for magic. But her magic was flat. When she reached a quiet period, she told Ziliphi that she was leaving the village to train outside. When she said that, the girl cried so hard. She wouldn't let go of her. Ludi thought. She thought it would be good for her to stay in the village with Ziliphi for the rest of her life. At that moment, Loki Sia delivered a letter. He's now in the kingdom of Shilor. He has become the tutor of the seventh prince. The prince is also very proud of her. She was able to use the magic of the king's sword. She surpassed Lock D by a large margin, so that she wouldn't be disappointed by Lock Key sick. I'm thinking of going to a magical university. I wanted to take Ziliphi with me. I hoped that my family would be able to pay the tuition for both of them. But Stormy was going back for a while. There are still 3 kids at home. A show money for you to go to college. Ludi decided to go out to work to solve the problem of money. The next day, Lock D called her best friend, Fierce Slave. She took Ludi away to work in the house of a local lord. So he learned the art of building with fierceness. Fiercely Slave was the king of the knights. His only weakness is that he's a big bear with a big brain. He can't speak a word.
Quickly,
Dee arrived at the lord's house. He was to be the magical teacher of the lord's daughter. His daughter's name was Eris, the fiery little glue popper Rory. The first time I saw Roldy, and she gave me the eye, and Dee didn't let her get away with it, and she slapped her hand back. Arliss was on the spot. Coco Roldy out of the ring dry, and then she was in front of a set of Bone Bag King. Roldy had to use the wind magic. He flew away, and then turned around and ran. Dee cannot help but feel open to. This is the first time I've seen such a bearish creature. She didn't give up the job.
she didn't give up on the job.
She proposed to the Lord to kidnap Eris. She suggested to the Lord that he kidnap Eris. She knew what she was afraid of. It was nighttime. Dee and Eris woke up in the dungeon. It was easy to set up a magic level. They took the opportunity to teach Arliss some magic. Arliss was a student. Then he screamed for help. 1 second, a kidnapper came in the corner of the room to Eris. Dry points out. And then he's all alone. And then he punched Roldy in the face. Dixon seems to be. He's so good, isn't he? Look at Arliss's back. It's huge. He's been there all along. It doesn't seem to be an act. He used this kind of magic to heal Eris. Then, open the skylight. He sealed the doorway with his magic. Then he told himself to run away. He'll stay behind and use violence against the kidnappers. The only thing Arliss can do is float. Roldy, help him. Roddy was in the middle of a money pit and came to his rescue. The two of them took a wagon and prepared for the end of the day. A little girl with an explosive temper. She's finally gotten over it. But on the way back, they came back to us. They kidnapped Eris. It's a mutiny. Roldy joined them. He'll get 100 pounds. I'm not going to tell you.
Of course Dee knows what to do.
I'm sure he knows what to do. He's got Miss O'Connell. The hand is of fire charcoal. The art of fireworks. This is the signal for help. It attracted the attention of Chilanu. 1 second. Len, you all instantly feel. It's the first time I've ever seen it. The whole street exploded. Naturally, the bandits were outraged on the spot. After the accident, Reese had a real change of heart. He finally got to know Roldy. After that, it was as a teacher that Roddy came to Arliss' house. He came to Arliss's house, and he managed to get the lords to think highly of him. Reese's grandfather gave his granddaughter to Roddy. He gave his granddaughter to Roddy. Yes, sir. Dee and Eris lived a life without a wife or a husband. Dee took Arliss and Key to be a slave. They were in charge of the law and arithmetic. Lien Nu was in charge of the two of them to build their skills. In contrast, it was Eris who had a talent for building. Roldy's ass was on the line. The two of them were so happy together. After practicing the silly, Dee was in this town, too. He did some market research to find out what the prices were in the world. Suddenly, a shadow drifted across the picture of my home. And he looked up. Dee was shocked. It was an aerial drug race. Lien Nu told him, the owner of the air Yakuza, one of the 3 heroes who had defeated the Demon King. That made Roldy set another small goal. He had to go up there when he had the chance. The time just flew by. Reese's supervision was getting more and more powerful. One night, Roddy finally finished the hand puppet of Roxy. He was very confident in his drawings of the key parts. Reese's maid, Chow Chow, approached Roddy. It's Reese's birthday in 6 months. Cigarette ash. Reese had to dance with Wu Ban, and then he'll be disgraced. People will look down on him. But Arliss has no talent for dancing, so he had to take time off from Roldy's class. Arliss is learning to dance. I'm sure he'd love to do that. She wanted to have more free time. And then she went to the master's library and began to study the literature of the continent. The most interesting thing was the foot language. I think it's the cutest thing in 2 years. I think it's the cutest thing in 2 years. He said that he hated to meet you. They were very close to each other. They almost became good friends. He took the time to learn the Hakka language. He learned several languages of the world. He couldn't understand any of them. It was Roddy who wrote to Roxy with the news. When he got the letter from Roddy,
Kissy was so happy. He spent all his spare time.
Roddy wrote a book to learn the language of the gods. And there's another strange thing that's been happening lately. The prince got a figure that looks exactly like him. The details are very well done. What's going on? What's going on? In the meantime, Liz wasn't making much progress with her dance lessons. Dee found him in Kasatsu with the cost of his legs. I remember myself from my past life. I'd always run away from problems. He encouraged Alice not to give up on her studies.
And to do her best.
Once you succeed, you'll have a strong sense of achievement. I thought I could accompany her.
Dance.
Let's do it. The pace of the individuals was completely different. Dee was even thrown straight out by Elise. The work is not as good as it seems. After some time of molding, we were finally able to finish the whole dance. It was time for Elise's birthday party. Dee wore a handsome outfit. His hair had grown into a grown-up look. Liz looked a lot more stable. All the teenagers were interested in him. They asked him to dance. And Alize was so close to being a good dancer. They both danced and danced their asses off. Someone at the scene hit the seam. I don't know what's going on. When Alice was about to explode, Dijon came out. He said he'd like to work with her. I'm sure Alize is not the kind of person who can be cheered on. Plus, he was nervous. He's back in the market. Roldy's security suit is under a big collar. Liz closed her eyes. Her body and soul were in his hands. And she did it with such grace, which was applauded by everyone in the audience. This operation also made Alice's favor towards Roddy. The feeling for Roldy increased dramatically. When Roddy woke up the next day, Liz was sleeping next to him. Their relationship had taken another step forward. But then a strange thing happened. A few balls of light with red letters appeared in the sky for no apparent reason. They didn't seem to be harmful, so everyone ignored it. After a while, it was Roldy's 10th birthday. They hid it from him. They organized a big party. To celebrate the occasion, Dee pretended to be moved and cried. The whole family was infected. Even Elise's mom, who usually hated Roldy, hugged Roldy. She hugged Roddy. Roldy and Alice had to get married. Alice prepared a birthday gift for Roddy. It was a very expensive staff. What do you mean? I have to hurt Zhang Bei forever. Meanwhile, Dee's 2 little sisters had grown up, and Rolf had become the family's eldest guest. At this seemingly peaceful time, suddenly there was an intention in the air. The magic of thought. The 3 of them went out into the wilderness. Roddy and the 3 of them went to the field
To test the power of the staff.
Before Roldy could cast a spell, there was an explosion of magic in the air. A red ball of light released a huge wave of light magic. The next moment, Rhodey disappeared into the light with just Alice in his arms. The power took Rhodey straight to the spirit world. He met a human god who liked to steal peepers, telling Roddy, "To the Light Lord is not lethal," suggests that when Roddy wakes up, dependent on the man at his side, and then disappeared, Rhodey woke up, and now he's on the magic road. Liz was sleeping beside him. Her face had disappeared. A cold man was looking at him. There was a red jewel on his head, and a green head. It's a symbol of the brutal demon race that Roddy talks about. Dee robbed the man of his fear. The demonic language spoke to the man, and the man told him his name was. His name was Rigel Luther. He found Roddy and Alice falling from the sky. The human child was very weak. They made a fire, warmed them up.
Dee wanted to die,
Gertrude didn't seem so bad in nature.
so he sat down next to him.
Gertrude said that she would send them back to the human race. Gertrude was saying that she would send them back to the human race. But the next moment, Liz suddenly woke up and saw a terrible demon in front of her. Poirot lost her color, and after a few moments of emotion, Liz reacquainted herself with the man who saved her life. She became friends on the spot. Early in the morning of the second day, we started to go over the mountain to the moon collar. Loopy was not to be seen, thanks to Rhodey's infinite genus of dragon heads. "I'll rest for a while. I'll take a break. I'll take a break." "Yes, sir." Gertrude is a local specialty. After a long journey, Roddy and his team were in a small village in Randall's Landing. The locals wouldn't let Roldy and Elise King go to the village. The mayor of the village had arranged for Roldy's fishing cone, but it was a sign that the village was unique. Dee told them it was a gift from his master, Mr. Roxy. One of the villagers was shocked. He thought Roxy was his daughter. "I didn't expect it." Dee and his gang had been traveling from Rokaisai's hometown. When he learned of the situation, he was willing to receive them. At night, the pedestrians fled to the aftermath of the purification operation. The problem was how to get out of Mundo. It's a matter of worldly prejudice. Gertrude couldn't even get in. Gertrude said, "He's willing to kill anyone who gets in his way. He's willing to kill anyone who gets in his way. That's why he's going this far." The reason why he went to such an extent is because Ludwig dreamed of eliminating of the Hair Devils for the heroes of their race. Plath's treachery. 400 years ago, Plath impaled a special spear on their race. They thought they were invincible. The lance had an evil policy on it. The user would gradually become indiscriminate, to the point of killing their loved ones. It was with the spear that Gertrude killed her son. He came to his senses. Now, he has to live to clear the name of the group. The deacon was touched by his spirit. He will help Gerald to change his fate. 2 days later, it was time to part. Dee spoke from the heart.
"Come on now."
Little. After waiting down the line of future prepayment, putting the super large pieces, with some people continuing to get up into, over the coins, we've got a local adventurers town. All of them are from the magic team. They're all from the demon team. They're all from the demon team. We got a message from the green-haired demon team. Yes, sir. Dee doesn't have any makeup. He's not wearing any makeup. I'm going to go in and admit it. I found the Adventurers Guild. The 3 of us registered for the adventure on my first day. Laughed at by everyone. I'm the name of the group. The Green Hair Demon Group. The Green Hair Demon Group. The Green Hair Demon Group. Roger Luther has blue hair. I can't even pretend. I can't even pretend. Ranger Luther was free from suspicion. We were able to get into the powerhouse. As adventurers, we're on a mission, while collecting information about their home. The 3 of them worked together with their evil powers. With the cooperation of their evil power, they were able to capture the enemy. While Ludi was interrogating the enemy, Fong Yakaku flew out of the room. Rigel Luther killed him directly. He took his enemy's head. Rudy didn't thank him for that. Rather, he was at odds with him. No one cares about the people they kill. It's not the bad guys. The family cared more about who the person is. If the green-haired demon gang kills someone, No matter what their intentions are, they're evil in the eyes of the world. And then, Dee offered to keep his enemies alive.
To work with them.
They promoted a positive image of the Greenheads. They promote a positive image of the group's adventures. At the same time, Chrissy left the kingdom and teamed up with the elves. They began to search for Rudy. Luckily, his life was not on the list, but it gave him some hope. On the other hand, Rudy was in another predicament. To a team of adventurers who were mistakenly trapped. Gerald wanted to help, but Rudy stopped him. He said that this is not the most dangerous moment. If you want to help, you should transfer more favors. Because of this decision, one of the adventurers was cut down at the waist. Gerald could not stand it any longer. Took over the disaster of the demon. He scolded Rudy. It was because of his role that people were killed. After arriving at the town, Rudy was in a deep state of self-loathing. Horseheads do not allow the color. They went up to the front building to pick them up. And then they sued the guild and canceled their qualifications as adventurers. Dee was now convinced that the storm will be unleashed. The city will be destroyed. Rigel Luther could see that Rudy's intention to kill was to let the rain wash the color out of his hair. It was to let the rain wash away the color of his hair. After seeing the logo of the green-haired module, the battlefield was destabilized.
The rest of the town fled the mob.
It's a bargain. Ranger Luther took this opportunity to take advantage of the Horseheads. Rudy's qualifications as an adventurer were gone. I'll kill you no matter where you go. And that's how he got the horse's head, and that's how he got the horse's head. Then they left town. Rudy found Gerald and talked to him. Gerald could see that Dee was trying to protect the team. Gerald could see that he was working so hard to protect his team. He recognized that Rudy was a good warrior. The two of them made up. They woke up 2 days later. Gerald changed his hair. He put on a forehead protector to cover his face. No one could tell he was a green-haired model. The last three continued their story. It could be fate. Dee and Luddy came to the same town. The original score is still a little short. We're not even close. Rumors of them are all over the place. The dog Eris and the door opener Roger Luther. The name Yuan Yang was born. The Lord Luddy is even more famous. We're short of cash. We're still short of money before we can board the ship. It's going to take a long time to complete the S-class commission, so we have to stay here. Reese's strength is already impressive. Even Reggie Luther can come and go. Rudy dreamed of the God of Man again. According to his tips to the alley, give the food in his hand to a dirty and extinguished Chi-Chi, thinking that the one he saved. He had saved the legendary Demon Earth. Abandoned power card. Wei-See-You. No one's coming. There's nothing left. Fong said can slow down Luddy for a month. And Rudy has no money and no land. And he has a fiancé. Can't even go for a lifetime. He could only give Luddy a magic eye. The means of delivery is so brutal. It hurt Luddy to death. With the magic eye, Luddy, the world is like a delayed world. He can see the future in a few seconds. Using this ability, like a big book with no delay. I'm going. Dee told Ranger Luther about it. Gerald said. He said that the individual may really be a magic land. He told Rudy to use the magic eye and Arliss to break up the building technique. Randy had been poisoning Arliss before. Now she can come around. I'm afraid Arliss will sneak up on me. Rudy will be able to see through him and subdue him. I'm afraid I'm going to have to kill my wife. It's a battle for babies. And love. After receiving the appreciation of Rigel Luther, Dee was in the mood for a duel. He proposed a duel. And he was so scared of Rigel Luther. She was so scared that she took Roger Luther's hand in her body. She finally kissed herself. The last thing she wanted to do was get stronger. It was to take Arliss home. It was Rudy who took advantage of the color of the leaves. He walked out of the room alone with his magic weapon. He was going to sell her for a subpoena, but Ranger Luther stopped her on the way. He knew how much Rudy valued the magic battle. To her, she has to carry everything. With the persuasion of Ranger Luther and Centerfield, Dee finally gave up the idea of selling the magic battle. The noise of Dee's chatting Dee's chatting attracted the Bahraini men he saved in the 100 days. He said he could help them get across the border. Eris in Shimako was in a bad way. He couldn't stop the transportation. It's not easy to get on the case. Dietrich met up with Rigel Luther.
It's even worse, man.
They were hidden in the dark underground market. It's all subway traffic. It's all about security deals. In front of Rigel Luther. And she had the nerve to kiss a child. But she's the one who's not even in the right place. Kicked up the gods and killed all the bad guys. After the girls were rescued, Dee realized that she had almost missed a pet dog. That she'd missed a pet dog. She returned alone. She saved her big brother. He's so cute. He's so cute. And Rudy was only halfway there. He was stopped by one of the recipients. He ran over there. He was unable to catch Rudy. This big brother is a great success. Dee's behavior just now was a big mistake. He had to be taken away. Rudy was taken to the country of the victim. In this cage, he said he was going to be free. The environment here is not bad. It's full of natural atmosphere. Someone comes to deliver food in the dark. It's not a bad way to live. And he's got a little brother to provide him with dark magic services. 6 days have passed. Reese still hasn't come for him. Dino's a little worried that the idea of a moon breeding was forming. When the idea of the moon was formed, a fire suddenly broke out in the cell block. Rudy immediately took his boys and started running. It's the footmen's territory that was attacked. They were all so cute and cute. Ludi couldn't bear it. I'm going to do something. After that, he used the water shield. The number of rainfall. The rainstorms fell. The village of human color was destroyed. But it's a fight. The mage must die first. The bandits are going to be the ones to get the job done. The game's players are always next to the mage. The Foot Brothers took the opportunity to rush up. The first wave of ice is eliminated. We headed to the second station. When the time comes, one side will only appear. It's the same Yakuzan man who helped Rudy to sneak across the border. The reason why the Yakuzas helped them. He wants to use them to find the sufferer's territory. He wants to capture the woman here. He's incredibly strong. He's been beaten to death by him. He was about to capture Rory. When Rudy was deciding whether or not to make a move, even though the big dog appeared, biting the tree, Dee fired a magic bullet. It killed Rowley. The eye can see 2 seconds into the future, but the speed of the opponent is too fast. Dee was still hit. The big dog and Dee can work together to lure Dee into the opportunity. The last moment, after defeating the 8 practicing men. After that, Ludi fainted because of his energy. When he opened his eyes again, Reese has already arrived to rescue him. Rudy realized his misunderstanding. He was sincere in discharging his duties. During the time he was living in the territory, Reese had learned some of the language of the people of Raleigh. At that moment, Palm saw the ring on Eris' finger. After realizing that their master was a fierce slave, Palm instantly began to draw. He told them that fierce slave was a member of their clan. He wouldn't let his daughter play with Eris. Only then did Eris realize. Fierceness is the sister of blocked Palm. She ran away from home because of something. That's why she was left with such a bad name. Uncle Palm also took advantage of the time when Eris was teaching his daughter. Ludi asked about Fiercely Slave. I didn't realize my sister had become a master builder. I didn't realize that my sister had become a master builder and also learned magic and acid. After the tone of voice, Dee already ready to go again. Before we start, he wanted to compare flowers with Eris. He also wanted to build a fierce slave building techniques. Reese naturally will not refuse. Hand pot move. Negative quality in one move. Dee didn't see who was winning and who was losing, but both sides were able to beat the Shinman clan. It was a smooth ride for them. Dee, just a little brother, also took a ride on the windmill. To Ludi's strong generation, they were the most powerful people in the world, and they were the most powerful people in the world. There are 7 strongest warriors in the world. When he was young, he wanted to become one of the 7 strongest warriors, but he didn't succeed. Reese's eyes lit up when he heard about it. I'm going to meet him, so that he could teach them a thing or two. Rudy did not think so. It's better not to have to deal with this kind of trouble. It's better not to get involved with this kind of troublemaker. Ludi and the others finally arrived at the human town. My brother also parted with them here. Dee chose to die. He wants to make money in this city first. Then he can go home. He also wanted to save the reputation of the Green Devils. Rigel Rudel was doing good deeds all over the city. He left behind a handmade jounen. While the two of them were out and about, Dee is going to write a letter to his father to tell him he's okay. But then he witnessed a kidnapping.
Dee chose to die.
It's another chance to make a name for himself. I'm going to follow the wolf with my gear. After more truth, deep fat fear. All the kidnappers have been sanctioned. When the adventurers came in for a while, to Ludi for the expression, launched an attack on her. Unfortunately, the difference in strength is too great. The gang couldn't stand Rudy, so they asked their Sin leader to come out. They were ready to show Rudy some colors. After the fight, everyone was shocked to think that Ludi and Tyrannosaurus, father and son, they met here. Ludi told us about his journey over the past year. The adventures in it were really exciting. But these words made Tyrannosaurus furious. We have lived so bitter. How dare the kid swim on the water? Ah. These words immediately provoked the conflict between father and son. People immediately fought, with Tyrannosaurus the longest, plus the help of Moeen. Dee with Tyrannosaurus is a set of fox bully palace dogs. But her sister Nolan pushed her away. I'm a catty sister. Catty sister. This catty sister.
Yeah, right.
Dee realized how serious the consequences of turning a new leaf can be. The entire city was teleported away. The only one who was left with Law was his daughter, Nolan. She thought her family was dead. Noreen became her only hope of survival. Tyrannosaurus formed the Sozo group in order to find the people who had been transported.
It looks like a kidnapping.
In fact, it's just a way to get out of the way. It's just a way to find the people who will work for the Great Transfer. The pressure on Tyrannosaurus has been so intense that it's gone downhill. When he meets his son, who has been adventurous, the negativity that he was so determined to continue would instantly explode. The cold eyes of the people. The second time, let Ludi remember the previous life. Under her mood completely leg-free. It was only with the comfort of Eris that something happened. In Tyrannosaurus, one person, and boring long time when Dee said before the little brother also came to the pipe. He had known Tyrannosaurus for a long time.
His right to say.
He felt that he had been too scientific with his son. He went to have a pot of cold water to sober himself up. 2 days later, he went to the police station to look for Ludi. The two of them chatted again. After seeing the pained face of Tyrannosaurus, finally understood the father's difficulties. Both sides apologized to each other, hugging the pain up. After the son had recovered, the family remembers their future plans. They were ready to leave for Ludi's hometown. There was one thing that was hard to believe. Arliss's family might be gone. The disaster had been so extensive that Reese's grandfather had been captured by political enemies. Reese's grandfather was caught by his political enemies. And that's why Reese's grandfather was caught in the crossfire by his political opponents. And Arliss was the most aware of them all. Of all of them. No matter what happens, I had to go back to see him. The next day, Dee and his team decided to leave again. Before saying goodbye, Lewin apparently hadn't forgiven Ludi. The excerpts of De Jianjua broke the awkward atmosphere. Tell the little one, cherish siblings. Gave them a green module hand puppet composite grade souvenir. And then started home again here. At the same time with Rudy, Miss Loxy recorded his hometown. She arrived at the door but hesitated to go in. For the villagers will use enough human poison with the communication ability to exchange. But Loxy was born without this ability. She couldn't hear a thing. The atmosphere in Reese's made her a communicator. Good quickly back home. Mother saw the daughter of the Leaf family for many years back. She was so happy to see her daughter back. She prepared the food for her. It's Loxy, cannot even hear at home. She can't even hear her mother's voice at home. So she said she was leaving again. She said she's leaving again. She asked her daughter to come home once in 20 years. The daughter's face was reluctant. She cried sadly. Then Roxy saw the toys that she used to play with. I realized that I was not alone. She realized she wasn't alone. Her mother loved her, no matter what outsiders thought of her. Her family always wanted to be there for her. Her departure from the Lee family. Rather, it gave her family a chance to hear her longing. After realizing all this, Chi-Chi's internal water also uncontrollably stayed down. After the family embraced each other, they made a settlement. Chi-Chi also told the other side, "I'm looking for the name of the land of Nodi Yasushi." When I heard the name, the relatives immediately said, "Nudi came to the village before." There were Alize and Rue Luther. They were teammates. After Rachel Luther was a green-haired model, Kissy was right there on the spot. I can't believe I passed by her before. It's a big loss. After Rocky West and his teammates, to continue his journey. But then he realized that Roldy was safe and sound. It's a relief to know that Roldy's safe. We're going to look for the other missing people. In the meantime, Roldy was again pulled into the spirit dimension by the god of man. He gave Roldy another piece of advice. Find your second sister in the kingdom of Salome. Don't protect your identity. When they arrived at their destination, Dee started to move. He came to the alley. When he came to the alley, he realized that a little girl was calling for help. It was two soldiers. They were arresting his sister, Ashita.
Dee, he said. I'm sorry, he said.
He took off with his sister, away from the pursuit. After the brigade crossed the shore, I want to contact my dad. I want to contact my dad. I want to contact my father. And to rescue her mom, who was trapped in the city. Jinshiho, don't you have a brother? I'd like to talk to him. I love him, but I reject him immediately. In her sister's eyes, in the eyes of her sister, her brother was a pervert. For his favorite baby, since he was a child. But he's a fat girl. She despises her brother with all her heart. Neva's mom, give me a blowjob. Dildan is speechless. The next, even if it is dead, cannot tell his true identity. He said he would help Ashita save his mom. I'm glad to be nameless. When Ashita output, Dee asked him to do the same. Don't reveal my name. I'll wait. That's right. Bring the dead. In order to prevent the alarm, Dee followed the girl to the city alone. I was going to see Rocky Eve, but when we arrived at the parlor, Kiyoshi was not here at all. He was there. There was that fat prince. And Pollyanna was tied up. A second later, the cache on the kicker was opened. Dee went in after him. There's a Wang Chi foam magic boundary on the surface. Dee couldn't use magic at all. He realized he was trapped. The prince said. He said that he would treat Rhodey as a child. He's going to trick Roxy into marrying him and take Roxy as his wife. Lodi had to put his hopes in his friends. And then they were gone. That's when the prince came into the dungeon. The prince entered the dungeon. He escaped from the dungeon with a handmade artifact of Rigel Luther. He asked who made it. Dee lied. He sold them on the side of the road on Mendachi Road. I thought the third prince had escaped from Rocky Eve's action figure. The person who made it is really good. He can even dismantle the castle. And even the details are so well done. Only a master can make such a realistic personnel. The words only say Ludi's heart. Share the experience of creating the Rocky Road dolls. After the prince learned that Ludi is a hand puppet maker, he wanted to learn from him. But there was one more condition for Rudy to accept the figure. That is, he had to let him out. When the prince heard this, he left the dungeon. Kakabin finally. He grabbed his brother by the neck. He took it off in front of Rudy Selfless. The guests all came. Every one of them rushed out to convince the basket. The third Prince of Lai was born with great strength. If his brother doesn't listen, he can blow his brains out. The prince had no choice but to order a demonstration of Ludi. This bad fat man, Qingfa. The prince also took one of his cuts. It's a great pleasure. Like this. The next and Lilia's smooth mother-daughter reenactment. Leah also take this opportunity. A mysterious box of a Ludi. Lily Face is the fat man who fell Chi-Chi. Dee instantly also repair cannot. A look at the side, there is a Husound clothing. That's the birthday gift from the West Lu Fei. In the two people into Hurt Drive when Sister sat down, ran over. She said she wanted to go on an adventure with Dee. Dee naturally refused, but she gave it to her sister. She took it as a collector's item, because if you have something of your favorite person with you, she would feel very comfortable with her favorite person. And I'm sorry to say that she agreed. When it was time to say goodbye, he told Rudy that the newborn, colorful dog sister, Sister Dee, Leah's dead. Come to the little girl has always been to see, through not to say through awe. After Ludi and his entourage embarked on a journey, we came to the snowy mountains, rode over the mountains through the wind and snow. To pass here will be home. Just when the entrepreneurial channel, Liz and Rigel Luther suddenly stood still. They saw two mysterious people coming from the camp, like they'd seen some kind of monster that scared them to death. And the cows on the other side of the cliff suddenly went into a rage. And the cows went off the cliff in a frenzy. Rudy, however, led the men to dispose of them. Did not feel so horrible aura. The white-haired man also felt something was wrong. He knew the identities of Rijlud and Alice, but did not recognize Ruddy. Dee had to introduce himself to her. Fong also gave her name. She was the strongest dragon god in the world. And what she said next. Rudy was caught off guard. The god said, Luo should only have 2 daughters. There is a son to pick right. The editor asked Rudy a question. Do you know a guy called God? Dee just said yes. God directly killed him. Gerald rushed forward. The deadly beginner's Vajra gun. The dragon god couldn't even touch him. The punch was thrown out of his hand. Liz rushed forward. She was hit by a backhanded gun. She couldn't be hurt. Then the dragon god crushed Rudy's internal organs. After she died, she gave a message to the god of man. She would definitely kill the god of man.
Dee fought to the death.
He was determined. Light dragon drill. To the dragon god. It's just a scratch. That's why Dee had to use his best technique.
A shot.
Fire Luo Xianplay. The dragon god summoned. Swallowed all the attacks of the dragon gate. She cracked it. The god also praised from the bottom of his heart. Ludi's magic power was already equal to Laplace's. And then it pierced through Rudy's chest. When she saw this scene, Elise instantly collapsed. She crawled towards Ludi with all her might. Rudy had already fallen into the spiritual world. He met a mysterious human god. God told Rudy, God is actually the strongest man in the world. But he couldn't use his power because of his organization. There are 3 organizations in his body. One is the business of all creatures in this world. That's why Geraldine and Alice are so afraid of her. That's why Rudy and Alice are so afraid of her. Rudy belongs to a world turned around. That's why it's invalid. The tissue on Ranger Ruddy's body. Because of Rudy's efforts, it's mostly gone. I've finished my speech. Dee was very pleased. She had accomplished something in her life. And just when she was about to die again, God made things difficult for her. Dee was puzzled. What was she doing alive again? Liz told her. Liz told her that it was the help of a man named Shou Qi Xing, who was with the dragon god. She got the dragon god to heal Ludi again. It was a great escape from death. Liz was in tears. In the middle of the night, Dee told Ranger Luther about the disappearance of the organization. He told Ranger Luther. At that moment, Gerald was in tears too. After hundreds of years of experience, it's not easy. It's not easy. I finally returned to my hometown. Lee has become dilapidated. Dee will hang out together a little bit, and she would never go back. In the distance, in the middle of nowhere, Gertrude said that his mission had been accomplished. After the fact, we parted. Before she left, she couldn't help but express her feelings. Dee and Alice had grown up. The two of them have learned a lot. Through the two have learned a lot. Accepted Rudy's love to love. For the experience, Gerald also started his own journey. People look at her faraway figure. I couldn't find peace for a long time. After the farewell, Dee and Elise came to recognize her. I'm not sure if I'm the right person for you. The luxury of this outfit was replaced by the power of Janelle's touch. Was replaced by Jane's touch. 1 second. Liz found a slave in the middle of the battle. She jumped on it without saying a word. We're finally back together. Here was the brutal truth. The family told them the truth, without missing a beat. After Alice's parents were separated from the family, Dee lost her temper on the spot. The worst part was, the right lord was going to go to Elise's place. Lennox was the first to say no. He would never allow his pupil to marry a man. A heated argument broke out on the spot. Liz wanted to do her part in this terrible situation. Liz said she wanted to do her best. Even Rudy went out with her. Late at night, Liz found Rudy alone, beside her. She said that she was now homeless. The only family she could count on was Rudy's selflessness. To the one she loved, Dee felt that this is the time to do it. It is to take advantage of people's position. I'm afraid I'm going to have to back out. Alize, however, gathered the courage to spread to her.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
A little dead? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. One night, the two children finally grew up, woke up in the morning. Dee's state is exceptionally good. As the saying goes, joy brings sorrow. To find that Alice had disappeared, leaving her hair all over the place. A letter of farewell. Dee was all alone. He'd lost his soul. She was wandering aimlessly. Her family came to talk to her about her grief.
She didn't do anything about it.
I had no choice but to tell her. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to tell you that I'm going to tell you that. Lysian Deisfoy is a young woman who has died. After I heard the name, there was a weak reaction in the evidence. Liz had left her. She's gone to train with Lennon. Lennon is also very worried. What if she's not right? But Alize thought that Dee would surely come out of it. She said she's been doing it all along. I've been too much for Dee. I can't allow her to do anything in return. She wants to be strong. Cultivate to the extent that she can defeat the dragon god. Go back to protect Ludi selflessly. On the other hand, Cecilia, the world's greatest land. She was arrested because she had no money to pay her debts. The boss decided to sell her to settle the debt, thanks to Loxie's own savings. He saved her life. To show her gratitude, Celica decided to use her magic eye, Loxie, to get information. That by now, Lo had already met with Lilia and her daughter. Rudy's mother's exact location. I can't see her. She must be in Labyrinth City. I have some news that will make me chancy rally dry hit. After Ludi, Celica has once again strutted away. Since we parted ways with Elise, Dee had been completely pinched. On the wagon train to the Northland, everyone looked as if they had a license. The passenger, Su Shan Shan, was very worried. He asked Rudy why he was traveling to the north. It's a dangerous place. Ludi did not respond to her question. The childlike Salad was displeased. That irritable attitude. Rudy was reminded of Alize. Dee then explained she was looking for her mother, who had been missing during in the event of the Great Transformation. At this news, the atmosphere in the room was silent. Fong Daidi's hat was speechless. Searching for a person is no doubt a needle in a haystack. It was Su Shan who took the initiative to share. Fong did Dee's information. Most of the countries in China are poor. There are 3 countries where education is booming. Where they're going to a principality that specializes in magical research. When they reached the city, Dee found an inn, pulled Alice's needle, and realized that the main mission of the trip was to find her mother. He realized that the main goal of the trip was to find his mother. I was able to immerse myself in the mountains. I'm going to the Adventurers Union. We're going to disband the group. Read the Money Jaishu, a very difficult way to the gap between the mountain and Rudy continued to make money. To ask her to cooperate to complete the task. And La expressed dissatisfaction with Rudy's joining. She thought she was just being sympathetic and didn't want to be invited. Rudy made up a story about coming to the bonding site. Our mission was to escape a group of highly intelligent bears. These bears knew how to cover their bodies with nimbus to protect them from fire. Dee was put in charge of trapping the bears, the enemy. When the fight began, Dee used his Nimbus to get the bears to advance. The bears, however, used the Nimbus to strengthen their defenses. The strength of his teammates was not good enough. It was a hard battle between them. Dee's one encounter with the fight again Rice. Seeing his teammates trying their best, trying to survive. They're trying their best to survive. He used a good fireball technique. The teammates who were waiting for the fireball, and he sent them down. The situation turned on the spot. The crowd was full and returned. Sandy thanked Rudy for his heroic performance. Even Salad reluctantly expressed his gratitude. After they left, Tomo proposed a celebration. We all shared the joy. With the efficiency of the surroundings, Dieter smiled. When we got to the room, he went out to the fat man of Rocky Eve, thinking about his experiences in this world. I realized that I'm not alone. I will continue to work hard to wake up, so that we can have a chance to meet again in the future. In the past few months in the northern continent, Dee continued to complete a variety of adventures taste off. His strength and physique have improved dramatically. Ludi often used the Earth's stew mud bog. The nickname Mud Bog has also spread throughout the world. Even the Salad. He was willing to invite Rudy to join him in his quest. The next mission was to collect the bells of Su Long's thinness. In the middle of the mission, but we met with an accident. Thanks to the adventurers of the clan, even if they helped, successfully completed the mission. The mission was completed successfully. The family sings and laughs. After they got to the village and the high, I'm sick of seeing Rudy's smiling face. I'll talk to you, I'll talk to you, I'll talk to you, I'll talk to you. I'll do anything to help you. The show ended badly, and soon after, Dee got some bad news. Law had disappeared on one of these missions. Dee still braved the blizzard to search for him, and finally managed to save Salad. The man came into the cave. Dee was fixing his wounds, but God couldn't stop looking down. After that, Lara fell in love with Rudy. She'd buy new equipment under the guise. Rudy went on a date. The two of them went to the Guild Xiao Zhuoliang Cup. La told Rudy that she was still thinking of buying breasts. She told him she was thinking of buying some boobs, but they've gotten tighter recently. Dee looked at the salads of the OP. I've been thinking about it. These careful death have been seen through by the salad. Quickly, he said a little sin. Dee saw an opportunity. He took it back to the hotel. After thanking Rudy again for saving his life, he wanted to talk to her. And then Dee came up. And at this critical moment, there's something wrong with it. It's like that. This body has been making a lot of noise. The girl was disappointed. She left without looking back. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. He came to Wine Pass to buy a crime. And at that moment, he met Zwa Air. Fong started taunting Ludi. This time, Ludi didn't recognize her. He shot her in the face and turned her over. She went up for another set of service. Wang Quan. All the grievances in his heart were vented out.
I didn't expect you didn't expect. I didn't expect you didn't expect.
After finishing, Ludi was going to let Zwa Air do whatever he wanted. Ear can also see Ludi's difficulties. He stopped to apologize to Ludi. Maybe she really is the most unfortunate person in the world. Let's have a drink together. Then we'll tell her what happened. Knowing that Rudy had been hit by a woman, he took her with him. He took her to the custom house to get help. The most experienced head girl came to help her. Sister came to help her. Dee didn't have time to get started. She's a bit of a pain in the ass. Let's go to the lobby. She's here to help her. She's using her soul and body. She can't control her. She feels that Rudy is afraid of women. It's not a girl Rudy knows well. Can solve the situation of Yang Mei. I can't help it, Ludi. She might really like you. Just to return the favor, we need to put in a good word with her. It'll bring her back. Rudy, however, went on to scold Salad. She's not going to say a word. She has to stop talking. It's a pity that the blue can't even be blue. After Rudy's 1 or 2 passes,
She's gone.
she's gone. Seeing Rudy's impulse to cut herself, Earl stopped her in her tracks, inviting Rudy to join their adventuring team, hoping that it would help her to regain her seat. Ludi was puzzled. Why would Ear help someone she hated so much? Ear explained, She just hated the guy who was a hypocrite. With Ludi on board, Ear's team is like a tiger. Even the winged dragon was easily killed by Ludi. They were all shocked. He's a man who's been in the devil's mane before. After that, when he was working, Ludi would work out in front of the gym with his strong body. It's a beautiful thing. Classic Alina followed the clues and found her way here. But Rudy didn't know him. Seeing Ludi so witnessed, Reina was already dying to see him. She told Rudy. She was a former teammate of Rudy's father, Paul. She was also a friend of Lacassi's. She leaned on Ludi and started chatting about Ludi. To send up the big sister. I wanted to kiss her, I thought. Lena, however, from Ludi, out of the hanging room of the West Buffet. In a second, she became serious for no reason. She told Rudy the good news. The whereabouts of her mother. Today, she's in Maze City. But it would take a year to get there from Rudy's current location. It will take a year to get there. And Ludi, she, and Tyrannosaurus have arrived at the main road where the Maze City is located. Rudy was also relieved to be able to spend a week. After spending a week with Alina, Dee also saw her face clearly. She brought a man to her room every day. She had slept with all the males in the couple's room. She slept with all the men. Because she's been infected with an organization that will kill her on the spot if she doesn't communicate with them. If she doesn't communicate regularly, she'll be shunned on the spot. Rudy was envious of her. She couldn't do anything about it. After some time, Lena found Rudy, who was exercising. She brought her a letter. Sex officially fall-up Department of Magic Election Alma Mater. Because of Rudy's name, was spreading throughout the local kingdom. They planned to recruit Ludi as a special student. I'm very happy about it. He was recognized for his active performance over the past 2 years. Rudy's interest in magic was also recognized. Rudy has been tutoring Alice for 2 years. It was a great honor to pay the tuition fee. I went to class with Rudy. Lena went to school with Rudy. Rudy believes that his family is now separated. Her goal was to reunite her family. When she was about to sing again, God came to talk to her again. God told Rudy, if she goes to the labyrinthine continent now, I would regret it. Why? God did not explain. He wants Rudy to go to the University of Magic to save Wataru and to investigate the transfer incident there. That's how Rudy will be able to regain his madness. The bottom can only say 4. In order to live happily ever after. Dee followed the advice of the gods. After the left ear said goodbye, she went to the University of Magic. Dee thought Alina was also interested in magic. What did she think? She was only interested in boys her age. They went through the school. They went to the head of the faculty, a man named Genus, and said he'd been admitted to the hospital. Nas said. Rudy accepted a book deal. Then they went to a dueling ring. Rudy fought another talented student of the school. Rudy was dueling with another student from the school, who was a gifted student of sound and singing magic. The student was studying Rudy. She recognized Rudy right away, but Rudy didn't recognize her. After the big transfer time, Rudy was transferred alone. The kingdom of Slavonia was high in the sky. The soul body leaks hard to barely land. Hair vaguely erased from Hao Jin became white. He happened to be at the scene of Princess Ariel's banquet. She Ludi met the beasts in the city. Counting Ariel, Lil proposed to be her guardian magician. When Rudy took up residence in the netherworld, she provided shelter. She offered her shelter. Rudy took on a half-man, half-woman, 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 half-woman. Ariel's name to become his consort. Though the two of them were dueling with each other using no chanting magic, Rudy realized he couldn't do any more magic. Rudy always took advantage of the situation to easily defeat her. Rudy used a magic called Theory of Magic. It was only then that she realized how well she was doing. For me, it's been an exciting few days. It's been exciting for days. Let's go home. That's how it was. Dee successfully entered the Magic University. Not only did they waive her tuition, she was allowed to skip classes. She was only allowed to attend one club meeting a month to welcome the new students. The student council had Princess Ariel give a speech.
During her speech,
I'm not sure what you're talking about. Rudy was staring at her. I thought it was because of the duel. She's got a grudge against her. And then Rudy came to her class. The third prince of the Tutti means Kwame was here. The prince was very excited. Tight, and the master, and play to raise high. And aside of the scolding obscene to look at the eye. Face to face to let Lou D. handrail called sincere. Only then did Dee recognize. She was the daughter of the director of the institute. In addition to her, she has brought with her a scourge to eat. And there was a boy named Cliff. He claims to be a genius wizard. He's going to surpass Rudy one day. And he's got to ask the girls in his class. He spends most of his time in the rescue room.
when he found out about this,
Dee came to the main map to separate the information. According to the advice of God and man, he investigated the diversion. In the course of investigating the public, Dee met Zalufii again. Lien Ma's first words were to apologize. Lufthansa's advice was to apologize. I'm sorry. Why are you investigating the transfer incident? Dee told me about her long journey. Although Luffy is happy that Luddy can find his family, he doesn't dare to show it. Suggest Luddy can see. Transfiguration exploration techniques. It might help. Luddy's accident. After what Luddy went through, she was willing to help herself, beginning to think she might be a good person. During the Three Princes dinner, there was a Luddy on the World Guardian called Luck Lesson, from the Grellet family, a superior nobleman from the old family of Satsuki Roro. Let's talk. The two of them are brothers. The prince explained. We are the guards of Princess Ariel. Ariel lost her bid for the throne. She went on to study at the University of Magic. To the University of Magic. I've been to the University of Magic. One of her guardians is Fei Zi. It's a pity that no one knows his identity now. On the way back to the car, Dee suddenly noticed a white object floating down from the sky. Look closely, but it was a fat piece. When Dee was like a body-type master of the continent, when the girl became a problem, Ludi, who had been helping her for a while, started to beat and kick her. The girl even came up and needed to beat Rudy to death. At that moment, Lu Fei appeared in time. She showed that she had lost her clothes by accident. That's the way it is. The girl still won't pickpocket, because after the day, only girls are allowed to walk on this street. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to get you out of there. Don't you dare get attached to Rudy. I'm sorry. I've got a wound. Dee also deeply thanked the other Shilua princess. I want to honor this senior concubine as a big brother. To become a big brother to respect. And that's what got Princess Shiloh interested. I'm not going to talk about the identity. While investigating the transfer incident, Dee realized that Princess Shiloh was also at the prominent hall. He was investigating the transfer. She told him that a friend of hers had disappeared in the transfer incident. He recently found out that he was still alive. He's afraid to look for him. He hoped that he could assist Luddy in investigating the transfer incident. He agreed to do so. Yes, the relationship between individuals is so gradually close. After Zilifai's departure, Dee went to see the third prince. The prince asked Luddy many times. He asked Luddy to squeeze his handiwork. Rudy felt helpless. He finally agreed to do it. But the third prince had no talent for magic. Dee had to teach him a slow lesson. I've been thinking about it. I've got the power, and I've crushed my handkerchief. It's hopeless. Yes, sir. So she suggested, to let the effort to complete the work. The last three of them have been working hard to make the market stronger. I'm looking for a boss. I'm looking for a two-handed leader. The oldest and the youngest of the broadest 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 of the poor. They found a girl who fit the bill. By the time we got to the girl, she was already in serious condition. Luffy rushed up to the girl and asked her for treatment. Dee tried to communicate with the girl, but he didn't move. The board wanted to teach him a lesson. Rudy stops him. Dee said he had lost all hope. He's almost lost hope in life. It made him think of himself. It seems that the girl is hopeless. When Ludi was leaving, the child suddenly expressed her desire for help. The child suddenly expressed a desire to help. Rudy then prepared a bunch of crazy meals for her. He named the girl Julie and let her live with the three princes. She was responsible for the three princes' daily affairs, and she followed Rudy's lead, learning languages and magic. In just 1 month, Rudy had mastered the magic of the Unchained. Dee didn't treat him as an endeavor. It was more like treating him like a toddy. When the third prince gave Julie, when the three princes explained to Julie about the artifacts that he got from the festival, Dee suddenly asked what happened to the hand puppet. The prince admitted that he was embarrassed. He brought the hand sanitizer. When he opened the nuclear, the hand puppet had already been broken into 4 pieces. So much so that Ludi had to issue a label on the spot. Almost scared the little girl to death. The prince had no choice but to tell the truth. Come, this is the previous 2 Shoren girl did it. Tutti all agreed to cry. Dee also en fa doucher. I'm going to teach them a lesson. Afterward, Dee stopped the 2 Shoren girls. They're in the air, but he realized they were coming for a reason. They warned Rudy to leave. Dee is directly open horse. I'm the best of the best of the best. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, but I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. The shame of the family that seeks to speak. Dee is a lightweight 1-2 punch. I'm going to kill the second cat. I'll use a stone to hit the clouds. Trap the whole family in a mud omen. And capture 2 of them in one fell swoop. After arriving at Sushi, Dixian released a hard grip on Sister Kwana. The second sister was trying to threaten Ludi. Ludi just calmly said, "My father threw himself into the dragon's nest. I'm sure he'll be able to repay his debt. I'm not going back to my debtor. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what I'm talking about. You. I can only go back to being a debtor. You. After the light Luffy is even with special ink chart teeth. The 2 of them will be obedient from now on. We'll use magic to make the ink stay on them for life. After hearing this, they all dared not let them die again. Then Lightning told Ludi, the ink is only used to transform the magic town. Once they stayed in the ink, it would disappear. Then Cliff suddenly found Rudy. She fell in love with Ariana, who came with Rudy. She asked Rudy to be the moon goddess and help them to make a connection. When she heard that, Rudy was confused. She was too embarrassed to tell Cliff the truth. So the next day, she approached Ludi and asked her to help her out. She asked her to help her with an idea, to get rid of Cliff. When she heard that, she objected to Rudy's idea, because she knew how hard it was to be alone. She knew how hard it was not to be able to be with the other person. And she wasn't sure. Reeve would definitely mind. Rena's past. Dee thought it made sense. She took Cliff to Ariana. Cliff was listening. He confessed his love for Ariana right away. Rena dared to take Rudy aside. She knew her own complicated past. She didn't want to hurt Cliff because of herself. Bringing such a simple boy here. I'd be doing him a disservice by bringing him here. Rudy's suggestion. Lena decided to tell Cliff about her situation. He made it up to Cliff. When Rudy arrived the next day, he was dumbfounded. The 2 of them had become like a couple. Lena had become Cliff's little girlfriend. With the arrival of fall, the opposite sex will start to learn from each other. The winning party will be given the right to speak to the other side of the family. The princesses, Mom and Quan, have become the target of many suitors. They've been the target of many suitors. Dee received a notice from them. They will try not to go out during this period of time. They hoped that Ludi could help them with the outside world. At first, Ludi didn't understand what they meant. By the time he was challenged on campus, knowing that he was recognized as the princess's boss, he thought he had something to fight for them. Ludi had no choice but to fight. He easily defeated his opponent, and word spread fast. More and more people came to challenge him. A long line of challengers had formed. It seemed that if they beat Ludi, we'll have a chance to get Mom and Quan. The news also attracted a sick-strong man. When he saw Rudy's appearance, he threw him out. He introduced himself as Barty, the Demon King. He is the fiancé of the Demon King, Chihilika. After learning of Ludi's transmission, he wanted to test his skill. He proposes that both sides should fight in a single move. If Ludi's attack can hurt him, Ludi will win. If he can't, he'll win. He'll be happy to do it. Enough time to catch in the magic. It won't hurt at all. But Rudy's best shot. D was killed instantly. He was resurrected in the middle of the transmission. D recognized Ludi's strength, but he didn't talk about his business. He hit Rudy with his hand and beat him into a pig's head. Luffy rushed to cure Rudy
so that he could rest.
After the battle, no one drove Ludi to learn the way. Sister and Sister Quanner proudly said that. Even the devil wants to go home. Just when Rudy thought it was all over, the room suddenly did damage. De-dressed in Snow Xiao Jifu, again, whole body. She also became a new student at the school. It's so unbelievable. Every time I saw Ludi and Shower girls together, they were in pain. Lu Fei always stood by silently. Leah felt sorry for him, but she understood. She had changed. For a while, she didn't even mention her name, because she was afraid that if Ludi said he didn't remember her, would not be able to bear it. Lil unconditionally supported Luffy's choice. For everything about Rudy should be decided by Luffy himself. At the same time, Mr. Dietrich's son went to investigate the Otanashi incident. He realized there was a similarity between this summoning magic. One is summoned, the other is to teleport out. The biggest difference is that it can't summon humans. Ludi asked Luffy if anyone was familiar with summoning magic. If anyone is familiar with summoning magic, Luffy told Rudy. There is indeed an expert in summoning magic in the school. He is a special vivid Sailor Moon who doesn't go out. The name is not unfamiliar to Rudy. Said, suit blackboards and other items he knew from his previous life were designed by Sirent. And when Ludi saw what Sai Luan Te looked like, the horrible memory of the dragon god killing suddenly came to his mind. D went into a coma on the spot. When he woke up again, now he was being taken care of by Luffy. He was in a state of shock. And when he came back to his senses, he realized that the woman was none other than Runt. Runt reassured her that God won't do anything to her for a while. He told her that D had been killed by the dragon god. D had been killed by the dragon god. Then she asked Ludi to give her two names, to see if Ludi could understand. But Ludi could understand. She confirmed that Rudy was the same as herself. He was a fellow countryman from Japan. The Lufthansa team was in disbelief. He was so proud of Rudy. I can't believe he didn't know that. The mask was removed. Dee's memories of her past life have been stirred up. She is the woman who was almost hit by a truck. I was trying to save her. She was killed by a truck. Runt's real name is 7 Stars. Knowing that there are other villagers in this world, I felt a little relieved. We can help each other to find a way back to Japan. But Rudy had no interest in going back. The 7 Stars were on the opposite side of the world. She has no interest in the world. She was transferred to the 7 Stars. She was almost run over by a truck, woke up and found himself in a world protected by the Dragon God. And she doesn't know why the Dragon God did that. She's been fighting in this world ever since. She even used the world, with the help of the Magic Town, to collect a lot of information. She still does not know the exact location of the Magic Town. She heard a saying, for those of them who are summoned to this world are deviants. If they do something that has a significant impact on history, will be rejected by this world. After the 7 Stars also remembered the secret to tell Ludi. He is an ordinary person without magic power. On the contrary, he has the ability to live forever. So she made a deal with Ludi. She wanted Ludi to help her with her experiments. Then she could tell Ludi about the transfer. After Ludi agreed, Star also told the inside story of the transfer incident. She thinks that the transfer incident 5 years ago may have been caused by the backfeeding force. When he was transferred, that is to say, Hoshi is probably the main cause of the transfer incident.
After saying that,
Rofi couldn't stand it any longer. Dee went up to the voucher group. He barely managed to hold back Sarofai, after realizing that 7 Stars was also a victim of the transfer. Then she calmed down. Welcome to the big transfer incident. Star didn't understand who triggered it all. Even the dragon god said it's the first time she's encountered this situation. But the 7 Stars have already made some progress. We need to continue to study, hopefully through theories, to explain the truth of the great transformation. Ludi is an important part of her research. On the road of color, Dee's heart is incredibly complex. Now she can only choose to believe in the 7 Stars. Although Luo Fei also believes in Ludi's judgment.
she also sensed
Between Ludi and the 7 Stars, there is a kind of unexplainable connection. This kind of connection makes Zilify very suitable. She finally wanted to face Ludi, to express her true feelings. Princess Leah's time. She's happy to be with both of them, to give Sarofai some motivation. She told her that she would help her with her plan to pursue Rudy. I will help her to pursue Ludi's plan. If you don't succeed, you'll never see her again in your life. Lofty listened and seriously agreed to her proposal. It was noon the next day. Luo Fei estimated that there was a business tool. Ludi asked her out alone, to team up with her to go to the third-year students, to pick the frozen grass of Cielo. Lucy Lofthouse was looking for a high-grade wand in Rudy's hand. Rudy told her it was a present for her 10th birthday. Dee told her it was a gift for her 10th birthday. Ruffy asked to touch the wand. She'd only ever used a normal wand as a beginner. Dee gave it to her without a second thought. I don't know if it was because of her loneliness. After that, Ruffy used the ring to eat, and the sky was full of rain in May. It's raining heavily, and the rain started to fall. Dee had no choice but to take Sarofai into a nearby cave. Inside the cave, there was a lot of chaos and confusion. Dee quickly. The clothes of the season were racked up and blown dry. When she turned around, she found Sarofai still sitting there. Tatsu wouldn't take off her clothes.
Dee chose to die.
It must be the fact that they were living together as man and woman. Rolf was embarrassed. That's why she didn't change her clothes. That's right.
Dee swore on the spot.
Whoever peeks is a son of a bitch. He turned over and closed his eyes. After waiting for half a day, Dee still did not hear any movement behind him. Then he turned around. She realized that Zilify didn't move at all. When she was about to get up and go out, she was grabbed by Sylphie. If you don't help me take off my deadhead's clothes, if you don't help me to take off my deadhead's clothes, I will die here. Dee finally realized her determination. He started to help her take off her clothes, and then he took off her glasses. I'm not sure. These people's read marvelous. Do you have that feeling? The childhood sweethearts are reunited in this one. Faye Ruddy just hugged Ruddy. The love of love is quick to rise. In the heart of many years of love. In this atmosphere of the right moment. Suddenly, it's awkward. Ludi's illness is not yet cured. In the end, Sarofai wouldn't. In the end, she can only go around things. She had to come down to Sylphie and give her a hand. Lofi also had to comfort her. The child will grow up. She didn't dislike herself because of it. The force also felt once wide tired. The people then won together. They began to talk about what they had experienced in the past 3 years. The night passed in their conversation. 2 days later, when Rolf returned to the cadets, she told Ariel what she had done. He hoped that Ariel could cure Rudy's illness. The words almost killed Ariel. And the man next to him, Rookie, thinks it's not funny. Seeing the determination of Sarofai, decided to help her. To help her. It's this bottle of the best aphrodisiacs. Sort of 2 Jane can also recognize the bare wind. Although Luo Fei was a bit nervous, she has also made up her mind. We encounter any difficulties. Do not be afraid.
Oil.
Here you go. I'll be there in the evening. Lofi knocked on Ludi's door. Although Dee was very shocked, he politely invited her in. Faye said she wanted to celebrate the reunion. To celebrate their reunion. and had brought something nice to drink, although Dee felt strange, but still squat, and drank it down. Luo Fei is also deep feelings a mouthful of door. She's going to laugh at the moment. She's going to laugh. Dee's eyes became hot. Luo Fei was even more intolerable. Finally, Ludi pushed her into bed. After a night of in-depth communication, Dee woke up from the bed. He was no longer with Cecil Fei. To the traces of Solo and the inner magic first read, we really had sex. When Sylphie came back, Dee was so excited that she ran away from her. She was finally cured, and her lover didn't leave her. So, she went to Ariel. She thanked her for her help. She was confident that she had become an omen and, although Ariel was happy that they were finally together, she was also worried that Ludi would. She's worried that Ludi will run away. Ask her if she's recovered now. Shouldn't she leave here to find her mom? Lothatu. Child relationship? A terrible little girl shy bad. She's not ready for the spirit yet. Lil told Sirofai. Lil told Sylphie she'd become Rudy's wife. She wouldn't have to dress as a woman and a man to return to being a woman. But Sirofai was hesitant at first, seeing her best friend's insistence. She finally agreed. After the first time, Dee was a different person. Even Mrs. Handsome could feel her confidence, although Ludi succeeded in believing in her proposal. She didn't know anything about the marriage process in this world, so she went to her buddies to discuss what to do. To be sure, marriage must first have no house, and the house is usually prepared by the South, to show that the South is reliable. The next day, Dee went to the defense agency to pick out a house, but she didn't have enough money, so she picked a haunted, shitty house. Two of her best buddies went to see it. They went through every room. They didn't find anything wrong with the house, so they decided to spend the night in the house, hoping that they wouldn't find anything new during the night. But at night, the door to the lower room was suddenly opened. They started to search the room. He found a hand on the sounding board, but it wasn't the hand of an evil spirit. It was a mechanical figure. Dee thought of a fully automated doll girl. He was very excited about it. He took the three of them to the basement. They found a hidden room. There was a pedestal where the dolls were stored and the design drawings. Dee decided to take the dolls and pedestals back to study them. The prince asked to be in charge of the dolls. Dee saw his determination. Dee was confident that he would be able to take care of the dolls. The prince was done. The next step was to show the hostess, Lu Fei, to see her new home. Lu Fei heard that Ludi sold his house. I didn't expect it to be so big. And Ludi specially dyed the roof with West Lu Fei's previous hair color. After they came to get the main delusion, Dee asked about Honghe's plan. Lu Fei said, "We'll continue to serve as Anal's hand position, so he might not spend the night at home so often." Dee would think of all that Lufthansa had done for him. As a husband, I think it's the right thing to do for him. As a husband, if it wasn't for Wolfie, I'd probably have said goodbye to my happy life. After the heart of a man is cut out of his body. Come on down. Lok finally got ready for the wedding. On the day of the wedding, all friends came to Ludi's new home. It was very lively. At the end of the night, each of them paid their respects to Ludi and Zalufii. When it was time for Anil, when he got back to Wolfie, he was so upset that he couldn't stop talking. "I'm sorry," he said. "Neil means to think. Maybe I promise. Esco. I'm sure I'll be able to make sure that I'll be able to go." The mother of the clan is on the team with the stormtroopers. The pendant on the house of Wolfie. The locket of the West Rufus on the house. And Anil's is almost identical. And despite Enil's vehement denials, there's no way his grandmother was a husband. The iron needle is as strong as a mountain. Dee told Cliff to take her to her room and get some rest. Tell West Rufus to go find Einir. Let's have a little chat. Neil also gave West Africa family. She brought it home with her. Then he took Luke with him to say goodbye. To the room. Lu Fei and El Neil had a better chat. Neil is indeed the real grandmother of West Lu Fei. Because of the organization. It's embarrassing to talk about it. She's been keeping her distance from her own organization. I thought Cliff would be devastated, but she didn't feel bad about it. She'd become even more determined to help Anil eliminate the organization. Dee was shocked. What's a good man? Mr. Cliff and Mr. Enel. And Dee talked about the letter from Negative Letter. I'm glad. Dee's on her own path. Ludi's mom's got a few words on the way up. The front is being exposed to a new partner. They're moving to the mainland. I'm going to bring Elsa and Loren to Ludi's side. To Ludi's side. Ludi was very happy to hear that. The house was finally getting a little more lively. Ludi was so happy. Maybe that's what families are for. At the same time, after months of work, the town of Summoning Magic was created. To be successful, it's no longer a dream that the circle will also be Japanese. It's a magic town that can summon something that was originally its own. The more complicated it is, the more magic it takes. Ludi had just injected magic into the magic town. Ludi was just injecting magic into the magic town and got fucked on the spot. The atmosphere became very awkward. Sex was silent. When Ludi was about to go back
Out. Dee was really relieved.
I've got to get her to a place where she can't be seen, to be able to help her. Dee did as he was told. We discussed the summoning magic. Even in her own specialty, you still can't find a way to solve the short circuit. It was when he was working on the automaton that he wanted to make an electronic device. Sample Cliff saw hope for a moment. After a long time, he made a magic pattern of the heart. It's done. The 7 stars were finally revitalized. With the help of the others, the new multi-magic array was finally completed. Ludi immediately used his magic power. Ludi immediately summoned a mine of heroes from Earth. It was an occasional celebration of the success of the 7 stars experiment. The people became together. A steady celebration. The stars were gradually integrated into a large and efficient group.
It's really something.
Dee flew home by the small path to the water. When they arrived at the farm, Dee's 2 sisters were already there. They're knocking on the door. The one who saw them off. It's the man they haven't seen for a long time. Gerald. He's been talking to Yuji for a long time. They've been chatting all night.
Come on.
Gerald met Tyrannosaurus again on his journey. He met Ludi's master, Locke Kisum. Then Gerald asked about Alice's whereabouts. Dee told him what happened when Elise suddenly left. He told him. Gerald heard it and realized. He thought there might be some kind of engine. Dee thought so too. For himself, now that he was married to Ludi, there was no point in thinking about it. It didn't make sense to think about it. 2 mornings later, after breakfast, it was time for Gerald to pack his bags and leave. Nolan and Alice were both upset by his departure. Especially Nolan. He wanted to go with him. It was because he remembered Ludlow's beating of Tyrannus. He's always hated his violent brother. Gerald admired him for days. He finally agreed to stay. After Rigoletto left, Ludi started to pull out the sisters' business, as Tyrannosaurus requested, and they went to school. And the clever Alice decided that there was nothing left to learn at school. She wanted to stay home and be a maid. Nolan, on the other hand, thought he could not pass the entrance exams.
Dee made them both sit for the exams.
And whoever gets the best grades. Liz, on the other hand, pointed out that Lenya had no intention of studying. Nolan just left. Dee had to teach Alice a lesson. Don't talk about how you despise the season. On the day the results were announced, Liz got a perfect score. She could have stayed at home and become a maid. Nolan, on the other hand, was just above the line, but he said he didn't want to go off drugs. He wanted to ask for help. Deeds agreed. After all, it's a good idea to put some distance between us. A little distance could be a good thing in a college relationship. But that decision didn't sit well with Alice. It's not what we agreed on. What about the Kuroneko, who's dead? I'm going to get him out of there. I'm counting on him. Look at the little girl. She's crying. Dee reddened her in a hurry. The heart hand is being shaken to death. I value both of your sisters equally. Nolan became an assistant. Liz stayed at home and became a maid. A month passed quickly. Dee ran into Nolan at school. He said hello, but she ignored him. Ludi was very upset. A month had passed. Nolan hadn't made any progress in her relationship, and she didn't seem to have any friends. After a month, Len had put herself in a situation where she wouldn't leave the house. By this time, Ludi was furious, suspecting that her sister was being bullied at school. So she dragged the two girls to Nolan's blog. When she got there, she went straight to the prize table. The bully had better come forward. Then she had to burn the bully's ashes 3 times. No sooner had she said that, the beast's hands were all over her. Dee was so angry, he almost did it. I'll explain later. Just the mention of Ludi's name. Lewin got angry for no reason. The master explained that he'd wanted Nolan to learn from Ludi. I had hoped that Nolan could learn from Ludi. But Nolan burst into tears. Then Dee suddenly realized she was the cause of all this. It was night. Dee sneaked up to Nolan's door to show him how to do it. She went in and folded a flick heart. She remembered what she'd been through before she turned. When she was first bullied, she locked herself in her room. My brother was trying to comfort her, but she chose to ignore him. Dee finally realized what her brother had done. He decided to stay with Nolan because she knew that if she left now, Nolan would be the same as she had been. No matter what, I can't leave. From Nolan's point of view is that he's always been interested in Ludi. This thing with Dio's father. She was unnecessarily scared. She was close to Nolan's dysfunctional family. Ludi, on the other hand, had such a need to be at home. Len was trying to get away from her. Len took it upon himself to ask for help. After arriving at the school, Len realized that everyone looked up to Ludi. That's why they looked up to her. Over the course of a month, she became mentally exhausted. She finally locked herself in a situation. When she recalled the facts again, she must have gotten to know Ludi all over again. Pulling faces. She saw the way Rudy worried about her. She even saw her father's voice. Noreen finally realized Nolan would never hit her. He wouldn't beat himself up. The girl cried out in her brother's arms. She cried out in her brother's arms. After that night, Lewin became a different person. She started to say hello to Ludi. She became more optimistic and cheerful. And Ludi realized she just stayed by Nolan's side that night. She didn't say anything. Nolan did manage to get his emotions in order on his own. But she couldn't do what she did in her previous life. But her sister was better than she was. In the time since then, Dee stayed with Nolan at school, and to restore the reputation of the Lupa module. And Nolan agreed to help Ludi write the Rachel Reed lyrics, to help Ludi write Rachel Reed's message. On the threatening side, Dee will also be focusing on revenge at the time of the threat every month. The threat can purchase their favorite items. In the middle of the day, there was a plastic item that had been successfully summoned. My heart was strengthened at the same time. The next plan will be finalized. We'll start with inorganic materials and work our way up, and repeat the experiment, and return to the real world. He also told Rudy about the success of the experiment. It's a summoning spell called the Spirit of the Lamp. It's a magic spell that allows the spirit to follow the master. Keep calling them. Tell me. Even the Magic Guild doesn't know about it. It's a limited item. Dee put it away immediately. Kreneth, after all his efforts, finally made the fat man from the Eleanor organization. It's a bit strange. He was able to carry out experiments. I hope Ludi can continue to provide magic power, the world to make Ludi fat and happy. But they were all clamoring for happiness. And that day, Rudy came home and found Sylphie sitting in the living room. Ruffy walked up to her and told her in a nervous tone that she was pregnant. Dee was shocked. It was like a dream to her. The nervous checkup was when Ludi finally felt the miracle. She felt the miracle. In a moment of activation, Dee hugged Sirofai and cried. He took the opportunity to be in the midst of this happiness. Dee saw over and over again images of her family's miracle. It was the ideal life she'd painted for herself. And while she was in the midst of this happiness, she spoke of a letter from her family. Her mother was difficult to rescue. It's a long way off. It's nighttime. And then Mr. Rudy drove off again. Dee came up here and was so sick of it. She's the one who wouldn't let me save my mom in the first place. But now the situation is getting worse. But life says, I don't care if I go or not. I'll regret it anyway. Why don't you forget your mother? And even if we go now, I'll only regret it more. Life is as good as death. I'll leave when I'm done. Dee woke up with him. I didn't want my wife to worry about me. I decided to go with the advice of life. I decided to take life's advice. I was with my wife. It's Ludi's mom's elementary school. Rina was going to take her to save her life. She wanted to break up with Cliff. We couldn't talk her out of it. When she was crying, she was so upset about it. I was going to talk to Nolan, who had been injured in an accident and had a lot of baggage. I'm going to use mom. I'm going to go with my mom. I'm going to go with you. Ming is so strong. Why didn't he save his mom? Sister's cries finally made Ludi's decision. Send her back to regret. He also wanted her to go on a journey to help her family. When Star found out about this, decided to help Ludi with all her might. A map of the world's professional magic matrices was released. There are magic arrays to move the Rice Palace, according to the route planned by the 7 stars. We can reach Muddy in a month. If you're lucky, you'll be able to make it. It would be in time for Sister Faye's labor. Ludi decided to help her parents, and Rolf agreed to help her. She promised to help her with the family. She wanted to see her 2 sisters in the meantime. They were at home, after taking care of her wife. 2 days later, Dee and Irina set off on their journey. During the trip, Cliff took out a modified organizational device. And then he came to Elena. He said that he would propose to her after the journey, and that he would prepare a cozy home for her. Riff, you're dead. You're dead. But can't you be a bit too big and polite? Luo Fei Jianchuan cannot help it. Into Ludi's arms. I didn't want to see her off. After a short distance, we saw a stone tablet. A stone tablet with an article by the Dragon God. Deer recited the 7-star sex, Zhao Yu sign. Li found the hidden season. The war is hidden at the bottom of the quarter. You have to be in the center. It'll send us to wherever we want to go. To check if the 2 magic battles are interconnected. Lena stood up again to check. For a long time, it was only then that Lena reappeared. But Alina said, she didn't even think for a second. There's still a time lag to get to the transport. They're not going to cross the desert. We've been walking for days. Ludi felt very tired. At night, to smell a young man's breath. Dee almost couldn't hold it in. He was going to make a move on Alina. Dina. Dee wanted to steal her breath. But then a masked woman appeared in front of him, trying to seduce Ludi. Luckily, Irina swung her sword in time. She saved Ludi. She was a female dream demon, but she's not even a seductress. It's not a strong fighter. She was killed by Irina in one move. After that, we're on our way. The desert's small formation is completed marvelously. It's nighttime. Due to her obstruction, Lena had to go out alone. She had to go out alone to get rid of the men. Although the mogul can fight back against the obstacles, but she couldn't get rid of the obstacles. Along the way, the 2 of them wrote and cooperated with each other. They've become partners in life and death. In the meantime, Lena also mentioned she had a relationship with Paul, but then they broke up, and Dee didn't dare ask any more questions. After more than a month of discussion, we finally arrived at the Labyrinth City. The quickest way to find Paul was to go to the guild and ask for information. And then just after the guild meeting, we ran into our former little brother, Keith. He was asking for help. I can't believe how fast Ludi and the others came. And then he said, after he said that the situation was already not optimistic, Gus reminded the 2 of them. Luo because of the huge blow. He was in a very bad state. But Irina had a difficult relationship with Paul. She hoped she could put up with it for a while. The last time I saw Paul, the spirit of Paul is really not right for you. He called himself a useless father. He couldn't even save his wife. He had to take his son out of the water. And to see Paul's lost face now, Dee was so glad he was here. He's here to comfort Paul, and told him that he's all grown up now. He should be a father soon. He was a little bit cheered up, and that made Rudy feel bad, the tall Paul at the time. But he felt very small. Then Paul realized Lena was there. Rudy was worried that they were on vacation. They were busy for a while. Lena was here to help, so she didn't want to meet him, but she came anyway. But Paul suddenly got down on his knees. He apologized for what he did before. Lena realized her mistake. The past is over now. Then a meeting was called for the war. According to Keith's information, Dee's mom was trapped in the maze. She was on the team that disappeared years ago. She doesn't even know what she did in her past life. That's the worst part. Chrissy fell into a maze transfer trap a month ago. She was caught in the maze's transfer trap. She's still alive. Dante's backing was in disarray. Thanks to Alina's reassurance, she was able to get her head around it. Then we escaped the transfer maze and explored the technology. Gus looked inside to see if there was a guide. Gus was thrilled when he looked through it. If the contents of each other are true, we should be able to get to the 6th level of the maze easily. Hurry up. We'll gather and set out into the labyrinth of diversion. The wonders provided by the elven magic of registration. I've been able to do a lot of things. I was able to see the maze's teleportation grid easily. If we step on it at night, I don't know where I'll be transported to. How long before the demons appear in front of us? Lena was the first to rush forward, but Tyrannosaurus is faster. One sprint, and the creature was killed on the spot. The creature was killed instantly. Race. Give me your coffee. The world cared that I didn't beat him.
Lena's not happy about it.
I'm not here to play. But what's with the pretense? Did you hear that, Mrs. K? I don't know what's going on in the family. I don't know if she's related to you. Lena is really her senior. Roddy and Alina are in charge of the front. With their tacit cooperation, the first layer is getting lighter and lighter. As the levels continue to deepen, Luo Shinchin became more and more serious. The cash transfers would only go to the same level, so that Rodriguez could feel it. I'll tell you where Roxy is. Although Dee didn't have that kind of intuition, he noticed the water droplets condensing on top of his head. Touched the wall. The temperature was very cold. Roach is on the other side of the room. He's being attacked by the demons. First, he releases his water shield. Then it changed its attribute to ice stew. And then an ice gun condenses the field. And the next second, Shift Magic Array sends in a new demon. Lokshi's magic power was already close. But she was cornered because she didn't know how much strength she had. The magic barrier in her hand was also knocked away by the demon. The game is on. It's amazing that all of them have been mobilized. It's Roldy. He's feeling everything. The two of them finally survived in the Rice Palace. Derek went up and stormed out. Lokshi felt like he hadn't bathed in a month. She wanted to be close to him. Dee said she didn't mind. But what she didn't expect was, Kissy started to introduce herself. I've seen you before. And then she got Roldy all worked up in the middle of it. After the meeting explained, Kiki realized that. Kissy realized that the man of the fourth sister is actually Roddy Boss. Kissy was so happy when she got back. The whole family was so happy, so that she can recover as soon as possible. It's a decision to make her recover as soon as possible. She'll sleep for a few more days. How long did it take? Kathy was back on her feet, thinking of Roddy Boss back then. In her mind's eye. In her mind. And now they're on the run again, with the addition of Roxy. The progress of the strategy has been accelerated again. An armored warrior rose up towards the crowd. Dibben wanted to kill them, but Roxy stopped her. So she could talk about her skills later. So Rhodey used the Quagmire Aperture. Tyrannosaurus and Ariadne go back up. Roldy uses his armor-breaking sword, and he's got his opponent in a second. But it made Roldy realize that Dee is getting stronger and stronger. Yori is weak. After this battle, he returned to the ground. Dee was beginning to think, I'm not sure if I'm at home. I'm not sure if I'm at home. But when he saw Rockich, he realized it was to prevent the best rhythm against the source of money. The next day, Dee and Rockich went out to study together. He even made a dinner date. He thanked Rockich for his family, for risking his life for his family. Rockich said, it was too hot to take care of Roddy's parents. He left school at the beginning of the year. He had a job and nowhere to go. It was Roddy's parents who took him in. It was then. That's when he realized his own strength through Roddy. And then he became more serious about his magic. He became a full-fledged Water King mage. He wanted to return the favor, to get rid of Roddy's mom. After that, all of them set out again. They were late for the heart of the house. Reiner was an armored combatant. Apparently, there's a reason for that. And the people were quick. The next level of the labyrinth. And, unfortunately, there were multiple magic arrays in between. We can only be sure that one of them is a trap. The next two are just a matter of luck. Disu is thinking about Sujio in front of the magic array. Now, the layout of this place is very similar. The layout here is very similar to that of a stupid magic trick. It's a shrieking machine. Do you have any hints? After exploring the area, I found a hint. Dee blasted a hidden path right there. In front of it was a magic matrix. I'll take a look around. Maybe it's the boss room. Let's go back and get ready before we start the tour. But Kuro won't be able to make it. We're going to ask for the next one. We're still going to the battlefield together. It's here. It's purely a 5-headed dragon. The magical path he guards. It's Roddy's mom, Nessie. The second he explodes, he rushes towards him without any reason. He's the source of his teammates' haste. Lita will be in the front row. Dee and Roxy. They'll be in the back casting battle magic. And even Roddy's magic. When he was facing the 9 dragons, his pieces of it were negotiated away. But Kuro didn't shrink from it. He used his armor-piercing sword to eliminate a dragon's head. Then he used his armor-piercing sword to remove a dragon's head. And not even a moment later, the eliminated head quickly came out again. The family could only retreat as soon as possible. But Law didn't want to leave. Lita went up to him and hit him with a light. It helped him calm down. And then, Roldy's weapon. They went back through the portal. Romaine is all about his wife in the crystal. Roldy, on the other hand, calmly pointed out that Nessie's a specimen of the frame card. Is she still alive? I'm sure Ruddy's gonna flip out on the spot. A little loner who doesn't smile. Mom's dying and you're still so calm. I'd rather be alive than hurt. Rodriguez was speechless. In his opinion, he lived with his mom for 7 years when he was a kid. She seemed more like an outsider than a mother. It's more like an outsider living with her. We're about to get into a father-son war. The League of Nations is pulling them apart. We're going to have a war meeting. Kiki and Ariana both said, Indy's mom's crystal is not a problem. The big danger is the boss, the dragon. Forget about offense and speed. We're talking about magic and damage control. There's no way to fight it. While everyone was silent, Dee remembered a story he read. After Tyrannosaurus chopped off the dragon's head, burn the wound with fire. Then it won't regenerate. If you attack the wound, it's very unlikely that the surgery will be reopened. With this tactic, Law is pouring blood on his teammates. I don't care if I can save my wife today. I'm satisfied. I'm going to move again. I can't think as calmly as Roldy. I can't think as calmly as Roddy. I can't think as calmly as Roddy. There's a reason why not all fathers say what they should say. I have to say it. I'm going to die, too. And then the second boss battle begins. Tarantula cut off the head of the Hydra, and Dee burned the wound with fire in the back to ensure that the dragon's head will not regenerate. The rest of the team is responsible for protecting Tyrannosaurus and Roddy, with the cooperation of the police and the dragons. They finally started to weaken the power of the Kowloon, but the Hydra suddenly made a new move. It started to break off the burnt parts by itself. In order to regenerate, Reiner stabbed it with a backhanded weapon. It quickly freezes the wound, and Chess Game is quick to supplement it with a fire stew. It's a 1-2 punch. dodging Hydra's power-up, gathering all the energy to launch a fire stew to extinguish the coupon.
D. Get everyone back to their sides.
The force is to release the water stew and water needle wall to block it. After the Hydra touches us, Luo lined up and charged forward again. He slashes at 2 more heads, when only the last head is left. Big Roddy thought he was winning. The last dragon swiped at him like an edge. Lawrence pushed Roddy aside. He couldn't avoid it. D was in a hurry. D, in a moment of desperation, plunged his hand into the dragon's eye mine. A game of chess to seize the moment. Fire and stew. To the last dragon head. The fight was over. D lost his arm. He rushed to use his magical blood. Even so, couldn't put the stewed limb back together. When Roddy was about to thank his father, he realized that everyone's faces were frozen. It was Roddy who saw the screen of the bureau, including Roddy's mom's crystal. It was shattered. To prevent Tyrannosaurus' body from decaying, Dee decided to cremate her father on the spot and took back her ashes. Back in town, Ravia saw through Saito on the spot. Roddy just rested. He left everything to her. It took a few days for Dee's mom to finally wake up. Dee's mom finally woke up. She was already in a mental state. She couldn't even speak. Sample Roddy was devastated. She had a wife and 2 real daughters waiting for her. But he saved his own life when he wasn't his real son. Roldies had a real lesson. He had to protect his family. For days, Dietrich's son had been in a state of agony. She's been locked up in her house.
Dee wanted to take her shopping
to get her in the mood, but Dee didn't want to move at all. It was Roddy who persuaded her. That's what dreams are for, apparently. It's not like the West Coast is dying on the other side. To understand Roddy's pain. But Roddy went crazy when he heard that. Dad and Mom are alive and well. You know what I mean? I'm a lollipop machine. Dixie's still not mad at me. She wanted to share the egg cup with Roddy. Said Roddy wanted to lean on her. It doesn't matter at all. It's a hard thing to do when you're splitting eggs together. I'm sure we can cut it out. It's done. Roddy's pulling her up on the bed.
Oh, shit.
Shit. Fuck you. Bring another one here. The next morning, we walked out of the room together. We ran into Ariana, who was just leaving the house. They came out of the same room together. Ariadne was in a state of shock. Dixie told Roddy to take care of his mom first. According to Leah's care, like you've lost your memory. I'm sure my body is in good health. Maybe it's because you've become a magic card. It's because you've become a magic mining card, Dee immediately said. She wanted to help take care of her mother, but Leah rejected her outright. She wanted Roddy to do what she had to do. She had a family now. It was after Roddy got better. She set out on a journey to the northern lands. On the way back, with the addition of Roddy and the others, the speed of progress has been greatly accelerated. In the meantime, Dee had been thinking how to treat her, Roddy, but he did like her. After all, she's promised her life. She's been promised a lifetime of love. Yes, sir. It's high speed. I've already got a family. He wants to break off his relationship with her. Of course, I know what's going on in her heart. I can't jeopardize the happiness of the airfare. She's in a maze. She was in the labyrinth, and she was very aware of Roddy's feelings. And she knew it very well. And she knew very well that Roddy was at his most vulnerable. She was at her most vulnerable. So she couldn't help trying to comfort her. To a bitter Roddy, she's also very sad. I hope to return to the map. She's always been a good friend. But Rodriguez refused. Days later, the people were led by Roddy. The magic matrix was transferred to the northern continent. At night, Rena said that Dee was not a member of the monogamy. Roddy could be taken as a second wife. It's a pity that Rodriguez can't get enough of Rodriguez. I'm sorry to hear that. Even though she saw Lu Fei's grandmother, she still wants to see Roddy, Sue be happy. He said that Roddy also wants to make the 2 girls happy. And now Hoso Fuji is pregnant with Lucky. But he's still thinking about other women. It's not the birth of 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 the birth. Rena's sword, Roddy. Think of her father. It's the first time. Luo also took Lilia as his second wife. After that, life was still very happy. Lena believed that Dee could have loved them all equally. He wanted his father to. He had a wife. He finally got through to Roddy. He decided to take Roddy's hand. Afterward, Ronaldo called her out to him. When Dixie saw Rodriguez, she turned red. Dee told her that when she got back, she'd believe Roddy when he told her he was getting married. It's the way those people feel. I'll tell you again. I'll tell you again. 2 days. Dietrich's son was running around in a desperate fight. It's only now that I realize what the God of Man has said. If you go to Yanaguni City, you'll regret it. Paul's tendency is to be more sad. I'm worried that if I'm not there, I'm worried that I won't be able to pay the tolls. When I get home, it's all quiet. I don't care if it's the tolls or the love for Nolan. There was no response from her. Dee was afraid something had happened to them. And then she ran into them. Ashita, who's been playing with her room since she was a kid. She's fine. Dee even asked about the tolls and Roddy's condition. Welcome, Roddy. Ralphie had just come back from a trip. Everyone wanted to get on with their business. Dee was finally relieved. Then Roddy came home. He was very happy to see his brother back. He was very happy, but he couldn't find Paul. He asked her about Paul's whereabouts. Dee had to tell her that Paul was on the move. Dee was worried about the situation. Dee took out Paul's ashes. Roddy was about to yell at him. Look. Even Roddy lost his arm. He could only swallow the flowers. Not only did he lose Paul, he lost his mom. Even his mom became a mining card in the spirit market. Dee was devastated. She cried her head off. She stabilized. She wanted Roddy to give her father's advice. At this point, Nessie reacted to Paul's house and hugged the royal outfit. After a while, the Jedens left Roddy's house. Dee then told Sylvester that he had something important to say. Dee asked for help in front of his family. He was the second wife of Sylvie. He got down on his knees and apologized to Loveless. And before Sai Lo Fai could say anything, Lewin started to fight. He started to eat his brother. He killed his father. And he was pregnant. He wanted to find a concubine. Then he criticized Lo Ki Sai. She's a shameless mistress. When Nolan said that, Kissy could only turn around and leave. Roddy was at his wit's end. But just then, Luffy called Kissy. Seeing her crying, Luffy said, "You've helped my husband. I like Roddy as much as you do. I'll be his second wife. Let's be Roldy's food list together." It's a pain in the ass and a blessing in disguise. A few months passed after that. The road tolls finally came. With Lilia at home, Lee helped Seafarb give birth to the baby. Dee held his little angel in his arms. She was so moved that she burst into tears. Later, she came to her father's house. She shared her favorite drink. Fox Tyrannosaurus talked about his gold mine. And now by father's family. She truly understood how her father felt back then. She promised to try to do what Tyrannosaurus had done for her, to protect the things she cares about. Before the song, it's as if he's halfway through the song. He used a shot of fresh air on his son. The second season of Turning. It's over. It's much more intense than the first season. It's more about character development and inner exploration. Dio's journey is less about external battles. It's more of an internal battle. It's a very real expression of what it means to be a man. It's quick fixes. It's the ups and downs. To a love affair with Lucy Faye, Woldy offers a new emotional salvation. But compared to the first season, Season 2's visual performance isn't as good as it used to be. Emotional depth and storytelling make up for it, to the point where there are still a few attractive lines. In a way, Season 2 not only deepens the growth of Rodius, and skillfully discusses mature themes of trauma, healing, and other mature themes. Battle of the Bit Consumers. What do you think of this season? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. What's next? What's next? How is Dee going to keep the family together? What new challenges will she face? Will he be reunited with Arliss? We'll have to wait until season 3 to find out. And that's something to keep an eye on.
See you next season.